Dimo, hello.
How's it going?
It's going very well. I'm popping in to take a look at your main display. It's been, I think, a few months, maybe 6 months since we did an update, and there's a lot to talk about. But also in today's video, I want to talk about your fish and quarantine process. So let's dive right in. So once again, this is what, a 10-foot aquarium?
10 foot, 3 feet deep, and it's 2 feet tall.
Oh, wow.
So 450 gallons. I could not go any bigger in this room, as you can see. I wish I could. I was going to do 4 feet deep originally, but there was no way I'd be able to manage it. And we recently upgraded the lighting.
Yes.
I don't know if it was in the last update or not.
No.
Now there's 8 XR30 G6 blues.
Oh,
Whereas before I just had temporary lighting. I just had 5 G4 XR30s.
8.
Yeah, there's 8 of them. And 6 of them in the center have the high intensity lens upgrade.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's a lot of light being pumped in. But I had to do that because the canopy's raised pretty high off the water, so I can actually get in there and do work if I need to.
Yeah, let me guess, it's about 22 inches, somewhere there?
Yeah, around there. And then the lights are another few inches inside the canopy. So
Yeah.
without the high intensity, the
Oh, wow.
spread was great, but
Yes.
the penetration of the light wasn't that good. So we ended up switching the 6 center ones to that, and the left and right light we kept to the stock lens, just to spread the light on the edges a little bit better.
And currently, what are you running them at? Intensity as well as...
So for most of the day, all the blues, UVs, everything's on 100. Reds are at about 20%. Whites are at about 10 to 20%. And then the point intensity is 100. And then for 2 or 3 hours a day, everything's on 100%. Just like I did in the old store. Just you know, that full daylight spectrum. I think right now we're either getting to the start of that or just at the end of that.
Gotcha. Well, this looks pretty cool, and I see now it's a lot fuller. I think in the beginning you had a different aquascape, but then a few people commented and you've changed things up. So before we talk, and I think we have a lot to cover just in terms of coral and fish, but the aquascape, tell me your kind of thought process about the aquascape of such a unusual long aquarium.
Yeah, it wasn't really a thought, to be honest. We didn't think about it. I had one of my buddies come by, and we just opened up, I think it was 400 pounds of rock. We put it on the floor, and he got in the tank, and I just started passing the pieces, and we just started putting it together.
400 pounds, eh?
Yeah, maybe more, maybe a little bit less. I can't remember. It's been a while now.
Is that a marker rock?
This is Carib Sea Life Rock.
Okay, Carib Sea Life.
That's what we ended up starting it
with.
with.
Oh, wow.
If I could redo it, I would use the Marco rock, which is purple.
Yes.
It's a little bit less dense than the Carib Sea stuff, but we didn't have access to it until recently.
Yes.
Originally, there was kind of this whole scape went the entire way across, and then I saw one of the comments on your video about maybe put something to break it in the middle. And I thought maybe I'll do a floating reef because I had some really big plans for large fish in this tank.
Yeah.
And I made this giant cave in the center, and
I love it.
I love it too, and there's a huge elegance in there too. It's a really good spot. And yeah, I did that a few months in, changed it up a little bit. And now that the system's more mature, we started adding a lot more corals as far as the acros.
Yeah.
And it's coming together. The only thing that's temporary in this tank is the elegance. There's just so many large ones, I don't really have anywhere to put them at the moment. So I just kind of made a field of elegance on the left.
That's a good holding place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They're all like red mouth, bleeding heart elegance, so they're pretty nice.
Now, what about the flow? I mean, again, that's another challenge for a tank this long. Tell me a little bit about your flow.
So flow's been the same since day one.
Okay.
On the back wall, there's 4 MP40s.
Yeah.
They have these siphon guards on them because I had to put them high up. They would slurp all day long.
Oh, I see.
So
and the siphon guards do help with the not sucking in the water?
It stops it completely. It stops the siphoning completely. The only thing is it really throws off the wave pattern.
Yeah. Oh, really? How so?
It deflects the water in a weird way, so it's kind of chaotic, which is good for this tank. But I was originally going to do them in the other tables, but it was causing too much turbulence.
I gotcha.
So there's 4 of them on the back with that. There's MP40s on the side bottom. You can't see them, but they're behind the rockwork. On this side, you might be able to see it. On the other side, you can't.
How do you... Oh, I actually can see it right all the way in there. Now, that would be painful to get in.
Well, we can actually stand on the ledge of this tank. That's how we designed it. It can hold the weight of 2 or 3 people.
No, really?
So we stand on there. I tuck my leg in the corner. I could reach down and grab it.
That is pretty cool.
And
I
yeah,
like
they're
it.
not fun to clean. But with those siphon guards, it actually helps a lot because a lot less light is touching them. So
Yeah.
it's like 10% of the algae growth on the wave maker in comparison to just leaving it open.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped a lot because it's annoying to have to clean the ones in the back.
So you got two on each side that are kind of coming towards the front.
Yep.
Then there you have.
So
I
there's
see. Is it
MP60s on the sides, but
MP60s?
this one is not running yet.
Okay.
It's too much flow in here for the elegance when I put that guy on.
Yeah.
So until I rehome the elegance or remove them, move them around somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
that one has to stay off. Even at like 10%, it's just too much. The one on the right is cranked 100%. I think it's on short pulse 2 seconds.
Oh wow.
I play around, sometimes Reef Crest, sometimes short pulse, and that's the only one that goes on a night mode because it killed some of my really nice fish at the beginning when I didn't
Really?
when I didn't use night mode, I wasn't paying attention, and it killed a Borbonia Xanthias in the middle of the night, and it killed surprisingly a really nice white cheek ting that was in here in the middle of the night. Like imagine the fish is really calm at night, and then a MP60 9,000 gallons an hour is on 100%. It kind of drifts into it.
So during the day they're fine, right? Because they're more cognizant of it.
Yeah, the fish are well aware of what's going on, and they're not kind of drifting away in the flow.
Yeah.
At nighttime, they don't really know what's going on. Like I've had to catch some fish out of here.
Okay.
I do it at night. I come in the middle of the night, and they have no idea what's going on. I can catch them by hand with a net. They're literally asleep.
I did not know that, but this is actually a very good tip because I did find a Melanurus wrasse dead in my tank, and I couldn't really understand why because I haven't had any other deaths, and I think that it was my MP60 that may have just sucked it in.
Yeah, it's, a lot of people who like distributors or a lot of people who set up a lot of large aquariums.
Yeah.
If the tank isn't huge,
Yeah.
they usually tell us not to do 60s. Like I had a distributor that we ordered a few from for a 600 gallon,
Yeah.
and the customer wanted like 8 of them on there, and he's like, we strongly recommend against it because they're known as fish killers. They're just too strong in some cases.
Well, and honestly, I'm running. I have a 7-foot tank, and I'm running mine right now at 20%.
Oh, there you go.
Just because when I crank it up, it's you don't need this much flow.
It's an absolute cannon, and I would only use it on such a large aquarium, like 10 feet.
Nice. Oh, this is beautiful. Now so you have the flow, and it kind of goes straight. What kind of mode is the two in the back? Like, is it Reef
I
Crest?
think they're all Reef Crest,
Okay.
except the ones that are on the bottom behind
Yeah.
the rocks. Those are constant, 100%.
Yeah,
to keep the
that's-
Tritus lifted.
Yeah, that's smart. That
yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I thought that was the best way to do it. I honestly never even thought about trying anything else, but
Okay.
it works well. The only thing that I know I'm going to have to deal with soon is the center.
Yes.
There's not a lot of flow getting to this area, and I know that because you could look right at the rocks and actually see detritus on the rocks.
Okay.
The rocks on the right are perfectly clear. The
Yeah.
rocks on this arch are gray with the detritus.
I see.
I tried angling the returns closer to the rock. It
Still
helps a
doesn't.
lot here.
Yeah.
On this side, it's a little bit less,
Uh-huh.
but we can only put so much water through the returns. So eventually I'm going to have to put maybe some reef waves on the back or some gyres. I also
That's
saw
interesting.
somewhere online, there's someone who used like I think it's a company that used to make sea swirls, or someone made a new version where you can attach Neros to them,
Yep.
and they hang down and they oscillate. So maybe I'll put a couple of those in here. I'm not sure. Let's see how things go.
I was listening to Adam at Frag Garage on his podcast, and he was talking to a guy from White Corals, and he says that in Europe, it's very common to have a power hat on some sort of oscillating platform.
I think it was a European store that I saw it at.
Yeah, and we're still behind from that perspective. All right, well, this is just the aquascape now. What about coral? So I see you've really geeked out on
yeah.
Acropora here.
Once I saw that the system was getting a lot better, like more
Yeah.
stable, and we changed the lighting,
Mm-hmm.
I decided to take some really nice species from the farm, some big stuff, and just put it in here. It's still kind of a farm, but I mean we don't really sell much from here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nice big colonies, some small stuff that maybe doesn't really have too much color, but I want for more of contrast in this tank.
Yeah.
I tried to do opposite colors next to each other. But just like any tank, there's still ups and downs. It's still a newer system. We're
Yep.
losing a couple pieces here and there.
Who is that acro? The one I'm kind of focusing on. Like it's got some crazy polyp extension.
Honestly, it's a wild one we brought in. There was one Indo order we got specifically a bunch of deep water acros. and that came in on it. It looks kind of like a pearl berry, but not a pearl berry.
No.
It's I don't know.
I may need a frag. Like this is crazy. I'm all about polyp extension now.
Yeah,
and,
it's so furry on the back
yeah.
end. It's brown. Like the polyps are huge.
Yeah, this is gorgeous. So tons of acros, all the different kinds, and elegance. I think this is predominantly an SPS dominated tank.
Yeah, the plan is to be pretty much acro only in the future. Maybe just a small torch garden like we have here, and then all encrusting stuff on the bottom. But it's going to be all acros and SPS.
How did you secure those torches?
They're on 1-inch tiles, and then I glued the tiles to the bottom.
So you have glued the tiles.
Yeah, when I don't glue the tiles, the flow in here actually moves them to the other end of the tank. Like they end up all in like this little cavern here.
Yeah.
They just pile up together, so I had to secure them down.
Well, I love it. I've never seen that approach before.
I think I'm gonna get like a couple of small flat rocks and build like a staircase, so at least it's like a layered section of torches, because now they're all on the same kind of level. But, yeah, we'll see.
And what kind of flow do you think your torches usually like?
As much as they can tolerate. That's
really?
What I like. It's tricky. Sometimes people do low flow and they like it.
Yeah.
We'll move over to the Euphyllia tank after. You'll see the torches are getting quite a bit of flow.
Mm.
Here, I found the sweet spot in the tank where there's not too much.
Too much.
When I had them to the right, maybe 10 inches to the right, a lot of them were actually dying from too much flow.
Yeah,
just being blown away.
I can see that. Like it's almost impossible to gauge the flow looking at the acros, right? Because a lot of them don't have anything moving. But look at that elegance in the corner, and it's like being blasted.
Yeah, and there's nothing in front of it.
Yeah. No, this is pretty cool. That's a nice chalice as well.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different chalices, a couple different eyes, and some nice rainbows.
Yeah, nice colors as well. Okay, what about fish? I remember in the previous video, the two fish that really caught my eye were this Sohal.
Mr. Sohal.
And there is the clown tang, right? So both are awesome fish.
Still getting along.
I don't remember. I think you had this koi tang before?
The koi tang was in there, but he was nothing like this.
Oh, yeah.
He has changed so drastically. His colors have just turned immaculate. He's got two different shades of, it's weird to say, 2 shades of black.
Yes.
He's got a shade of brown, 2 different types of yellow on him, and a white tail.
Oh, wow.
So I think at this point, I think he's mine. I think I'm keeping him.
Yeah.
Maybe if someone really realistically wants to pay the full price, asking price for him, I might sell him, but...
What would be the asking price?
20 grand.
20 grand. Yeah, that's nowadays this is common. When I was at the Coral Show, we were talking to a guy who had I think 30,000 US koi tank, and this is not uncommon for those type of fish.
That's how they typically go. Like some of them are one single color with a little blotch of black on them, and they're 10 grand, 15 grand. A lot of these fish it's like an auction when we order them.
Yep.
So worldwide, everyone's bidding for the same fish.
Wow.
So the highest bidder gets it, and then we go from there.
Well, he is incredibly gorgeous, for sure. Like, I mean, that's a showpiece. Any other fish that, I mean, is that Yamingi right there?
That's a Flamingi.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Flamingi. There's a Maculaceps, a freckle-faced thing in here. He's not really showing his freckles at all. I put him in about a month ago.
Which one
right
is
in
that?
the dark right there. He looks completely black. He's behind the clown thing.
Oh,
now.
I see. Okay.
He got beat up a little bit, but now he's settled in.
He's pretty big as well, I noticed.
He's grown quite a bit, but we feed this tank so much.
Yes.
Other than that, everyone's favorite is this sailfin berry wrasse.
Oh, that one there, eh?
Yeah, if we take a step back a little bit, he might start flying left and right. I'll put a little bit more food in.
Okay.
But he's got the longest dorsal fin, literally a sailfin.
Oh God, yeah, I see that. That's almost like a guppy.
It's funny looking, but I've never seen one with such a long fin. It's just beautiful. That one catches everybody's eye. Obviously, the larger fish is Sohal, the naso. People love them.
Yeah.
There's a couple Brabonius in here, which they pop out here and there. They're growing well.
Those are awesome as well. Yeah, there's Brabonius right there.
These guys spent the first 6 months on opposite ends of the tank, and now they're hanging together a lot.
Really?
So they might be a pair. They might be a male and female.
Okay, I don't see a copper band. Any thoughts on
the show size copper band we had? Someone ended up purchasing him from us.
Oh, I see.
So they wanted him enough. and I was able to catch him pretty easily because he likes staying in the top corners.
I guess it's a problem, right? If it's your display tank, but if people come in and I really want a fish and they make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, that happens a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, there are a few fish that I will not sell. I really just don't care about the price. Like, they're my fish. One of them is Larry, the long-nosed black.
Okay, yeah.
This Sohal is another one.
Yeah, that Sohal is so calm and majestic.
Yeah, the fact that he's calm is the reason why I wouldn't sell him, even if someone wanted to pay 2,000 or 3,000, which is obviously outrageous. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah. No,
you can't buy that personality again.
It's like when you find a copper band that eats, especially if it eats voraciously. Like, I mean, there's no price tag for something like that.
Yeah, for me, the copper band is the copper band, so I'll get another one and
Yeah.
put it in there. It doesn't really have
But this
personality.
guy is just gorgeous. Look at him.
He gets angry here and there for like 5-6 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I'll see some of that real Sohal aggression, and then he's just back to being completely calm forever.
Yes, and look how little energy he expels while swimming.
He barely moves.
Yeah, yeah. You want a 10-gallon tank, 10-foot tank if you can. There.
Yeah, a lot of people online say that Sohals need 10 feet minimum.
All right. Well, since we're talking fish, let's talk about what you have in your fish selection. Actually, before we do this, this caught my eye. I think this is what, a Red Sea.
It's a
what's
Reef
the model?
350.
Okay.
This is going to be our entire Red Sea setup with all their equipment and everything like that. So it's been dry for a while, but now we're finally getting ready to fill it. Sand's in, escape's fully done. I did the concrete on all the joints this morning.
Oh wow.
So it's pretty secure, and I think it's going to be pretty special.
I think it will be, and our viewers will have to wait. What? Give it another 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, then it will be pretty full of stuff.
Perfect. I'll make sure to be back, and we're gonna do a whole video update just on that. All right. So before the fish, I keep making those stops, but you mentioned flow and your torch garden. So here, say a few words about the flow here.
So it's not as much as I would like, but it's tricky trying to put flow on 8x4 and everything's on the same level.
Oh,
as
wow.
we've discussed many times.
Yeah.
But we try and get more of that random flow pattern, pulses and some reef crest. But this is the type of flow I like seeing with a lot of the torches. You want to see their polyps going all over the place, not just from one direction. And obviously they're happy. Things are doing well.
They certainly are. So they've like fully extended, and the flow, is it kind of uniform throughout the tank, or you find
No,
that
it's opposite on both ends. So on the right side of the tank, we have 2 Voyagers underneath the racks, just blasting straight flow underneath.
Okay.
And then the return as well. And then we have on the left side 2 MP40s in this tank. I believe they're both on Reef Crest. Or no, it looks like Pulse. They're both on Pulse.
So pulse, what's the pulse like?
100% 2 second is usually what I do.
Oh,
just
really?
because of the size of these tanks. So
Okay.
2 seconds on, 2 seconds off. This looks like it might be like 1.5, 1.5.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, this is. I can just stand here for hours and just enjoy the garden. This is amazing.
On the other end, we have, it's tricky too, because on the other end we have fungias, we have plate corals, I have chalices,
Yep.
and then I have every hammer known to man on this side.
Oh wow.
It's just completely full of branching hammers, wall hammers.
Oh, you've
So
got-
this side has a lot less flow, but that's on purpose because the hammers can't take that much.
Yes.
And we achieve that by pointing the Voyager on this end completely down into the opposite corner.
So it kind of spreads out
Yeah,
and then
pushes the flow to the other end of
pushes
the tank.
there. So that makes sense. That looks cool. All right, let's take a look at the fish.
So we're doing some new things here.
Yes.
We did one tank as a test. We're going to change the tanks to all white, except for the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the fish stand out way more.
Okay, well, let's compare. So this is the tank above. And yeah, I see what you're saying.
A lot of the fish that are darker in color
Yeah.
end up darkening their color when things are black. They want to blend into the surroundings.
Right.
And the original idea for black was a cleaner look. I thought the fish might pop nicer on it, but turns out not so much. It's great for cleaning because you don't see the algae as much. But
Yes.
I said if I'm going to change it, I want to go all out. I'm going to go white. And every single color of the fish stands out. Like the fish almost look like they're just floating in midair.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. What about like if it would be a light blue? Have you considered that?
I did light blue in the other store.
Yeah.
I just don't like. I think it's too tacky. Like everything here is a lot more elegant looking. Like everything's
Yes.
white, clean, crisp looking.
That's true.
I don't want to just throw baby blue or something in the middle of it. And in the other store, it did make it look a little kind of childish. Like I would prefer a little bit more clean looking. It's harder to keep clean, but
Well,
it's worth it. It's worth it if we do the maintenance.
Like everything is spotless. You don't see any algae. How often do you clean the
Well,
tank?
if we look at the tanks on the right,
Yeah.
as an example, because this one just got cleaned because we redid it. So
Yeah.
this fish tank hasn't been cleaned for 2 weeks,
Oh wow.
and I promise that.
Wow.
The decorations haven't been cleaned since I opened in September.
Really?
Like they were new in September, and that's them there.
And is that because the fish do some of the cleaning for you as well?
Possibly. I mean, every other fish system I've ever seen, doesn't matter what you have in there, the things get disgusting quick.
Yeah.
I think it's two things. One, we use RODI water on this system,
Oh really? Okay.
and we use at least a cleaner salt. We use the Aquaforest sea salt.
Yep.
For fish only. And then two, we have nothing crazy for lighting. Like the lighting is not super intense. It's a couple of Reef Bright Lumi lights.
Yeah.
It lights the tank up well enough, but there's definitely not a high nutrient load in here. Because even a minimal amount of light, if we look in our invert system, there's
Yeah.
algae growing like crazy. And here there's not. And there's no medication. We don't put copper in here pretty much ever. And the salinity is full between 1.024
Which is great because this way people can just kind of pick it up and
yeah, well, it's way easier for the customer. We're not masking any parasites or issues by dropping our salinity. The fish aren't stressed out from being in hypo for weeks or months.
you know what? I do like that white because look at that. Same is it
Look at the gem things. They
Yeah.
look black. They just completely hide all their color because they're
there
trying
is
to
a
blend in.
stark difference between this looking at the fish here and then looking at the fish here.
And all the gems are identical as far as they all have white spots.
Yeah.
Because they all look the same when I got them.
But that
and then
looks-
some are stressed out. They're
You're right.
fighting.
Yeah, that looks ridiculously better. This orange shoulder really threw me off because when I came in to your store, first it was gray, and then at some point it changed to be fully yellow, and now it's kind of going back to
Yeah,
gray
it's
and
weird.
a
It
little
was
bit that.
it's this adult color now.
Yeah.
When you came in, what, 30 minutes ago,
Yeah.
40 minutes ago, it was all completely gray, like super dark.
That is incredible. So I didn't know. I thought that once they changed, they changed, but I didn't know that they.
A lot of
kind
fish
go
will
back
alter
and
their
forth.
color slightly based on their mood, their temperament.
Yeah.
A lot of fish, especially where there's dominance between the same species, they'll darken their colors if they're not trying to stand out because the more dominant fish is going to see them as a threat.
Yeah.
That's especially the case with like the gem tanks. You can see in one tank, there's 2 or 3 that have a lot more white coloration showing, and then a bunch of them are way darker because they're not trying to compete with.
Right.
I'm assuming male, but we don't really know.
Right.
And with wrasses, it's the same thing. There's always what people super males or really bright looking males. I've had Antheus where there's a beautiful male and that's the one we sell.
Yep.
Once I bag him, all of a sudden another one turned crazy out of nowhere, and that's because the one that was being dominant is no longer in that tank.
Hold on. You did mention the quarantine, so let's take a look at the quarantine system, and you can maybe tell us what do your fish go through before they go into the system.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's let's take a look.
It's a little bit messy because we're doing a lot of projects now that it's summertime. We just recently completely gutted the quarantine. I decided every 6 months I'm going to bleach the whole thing and reset it. So this is the first order after that, just because it's our incoming system. So if anything, it would be the dirtiest, and I say that in quotations. It would be the dirtiest out of anything, so it's good to just clean it. So I'm going to turn the air off here. So right now we're doing a formalin treatment, so that's why we have lots of oxygen, because formalin strips oxygen from the water.
All right.
And we really thought about what can we do to make the fish even better than we already have them. And I'm going to change the way I'm doing all the quarantining for all our new orders coming in. We're going to double the period before sale. So now we're going to do a minimum of 10, ideally 14 days of treatment. This gives the fish a more, for the way I'm doing it this way now, there's more things being dealt with more successfully, and the fish are settling in longer. Versus before we were doing medicated baths, which are more aggressive on the fish.
Yes.
Now we're doing the same type of medications, but in system treatments. So the only difference is they require a 7 to 10 day treatment, versus the baths are over a couple days. But it's a lot more aggressive on the fish. This way I find it's a lot easier. Fish like Anthias that didn't do well with formalin baths are taking formalin treatments through the system very, very well. We're on day 5 of treatment. So we have this little chart now.
I love it.
This is still like it's not finished because we just did the rating the other day. You know, country of origin, the salinity level, the type of medication. Like right now, we're doing a formalin treatment, and the dosage, copper level, and then fenbendazole is what we use for the internals. So those are things that are always being done. The medication of choice might change based on what's happening. So that's why we write it individually. Formalin needs 7 to 10 days of treatment. So we did 5 days so far of dosing. Tomorrow and Tuesday, and then Wednesday is going to be the last dose.
Okay.
And for the current volume, it's 15 mils daily. And there's a certain dose based on if there's copper in the water or not, so we take that all into account. And as you can see, our copper level is also full therapeutic. So if the fish are here for 14 days, they're at full therapeutic copper for the 14 days.
It won't still be like too high, right?
This is slightly above therapeutic, but we use copper safe, so the fish it's pretty gentle on the fish, pretty mild. But now we're also treating for regular ick versus before, because it was only about a 7-day treatment process. We didn't include it in what we're looking to treat. But now we're dealing with quite a bit of things, and I think the fish are doing a lot better. And there's things that happen, like we have a couple of fish that have eye problems. I have a Quran angel that has an eye problem. I have one blonde that has an eye problem. And now that they're staying in the store, or at least in the quarantine longer, I can deal with them individually quite a bit better.
Oh, I love those damsels.
It's their tailbots. So I only bring in Springer eye damsels and tailbot damsels. They're the only two that are considered peaceful. They really only ever fight with each other. They don't really go after other fish.
Gorgeous.
Got some blonde nasals here. There's a Macula staying a freckle face. There's a nice gold rim.
Ooh, yeah, I can see that. And so now the fish have been here for...
Oh man, so this is a little bit awkward for us because this was the first order after resetting. So before I put any meds in the system, I think I waited 4 days.
Okay.
So they've been here over 2 weeks already, but I didn't start any type of treatment for a bit because I didn't want to mess with any of the nitrifying bacteria. So they've been here for 2 weeks, and they still have another 3 or 4 days before they're fully done, which is longer than normal. But again, it's because it was the first order after resetting the system, so I want to be safe versus sorry.
So when somebody walks into doorsteps and they go to your fish section, that's all the fish that have already gone through this whole process,
Yeah, no
correct?
fish will be in our fish displays unless they've gone through this, or what we were previously doing, which was very similar to this. The only exception is captive bred clowns, which go into our, or other captive bred fish with them, they go into our invert system, which doesn't have anything in it other than invertebrates.
Now, when you introduce the fish, so for example, when you get a shipment, what's the die-off, or like what's the percentage roughly that you know that you are going to lose? And
As far
how
as
does it vary?
On incoming orders, it's completely like luck of the draw. You know, is there any delays in transit? What's the weather like?
Oh, wow.
You know, when we ordered from certain suppliers, are they getting from different farms as well? Like I've had some orders where I requested a bunch of specific wrasses that came from different islands. So those wrasses were essentially shipped to them and then shipped back to us. So sometimes they don't do well. It all depends what's happening. Typically, you know, there are stores who don't do any type of treatment, and there's stores who do treatments of some sort. You're going to lose, in my opinion, you know, 20 to 30% of the fish, regardless of if you treat or not. Whether it's over the course of the few weeks the fish are here in the displays, if they're not medicated, or if you're medicating them. At the end of the day, I tell people, I'm very transparent. I kill fish in quarantine.
Yes.
But that's to provide healthier fish outside of quarantine. So in most orders, it's probably like 20 to 30% at the end of the day of what's lost through treatment. And some of it dies the next morning from arrival. The fish go through a lot getting here. You know, the average transit is going to be 30 hours plus. In some cases, it's 2 days. The gem tangs from Madagascar, not this order, but 2 years ago when I did them in the other store, it was 5 days of travel.
Oh my God.
5 days in a bag.
In a tiny bag.
And I didn't lose a single one in arrival.
Oh.
So it all depends too. Some suppliers are terrible with packaging. Some suppliers, really they're farms. They have no quality control. They don't do anything to the fish. And, you know, the suppliers matter big time. That's why we're very strict on where we order from. Sometimes I try someone new, depending on if I want to establish a relationship with them. But I've tried many different things, and There's a lot of loss with fish, and that's just how it is. And people are always like, "Oh, they're so expensive." They just don't understand the costs involved. With fish, you're paying mostly for freight. You know, these big fish have to be shipped in a lot of water,
Yeah.
and there's loss. There's a lot of loss with fish, and the feeding costs. You know, we feed the fish very well here. We feed LRS, $35 a sheet.
Oh, wow.
For like 9 ounces, whatever the size is. We feed tons of frozen. I go through 100 sheets of seaweed a week, and I only use proper Aquarium brand stuff. Like it adds up, and then the medication costs.
And then you know, paying for the facility, for
I don't even think about that.
everything else. Like you want this to be profitable so that people come here year after year, and you obviously want to be around. So
The biggest thing for me is the medication cost too. Like
really,
people don't think about it. Like this system here, when it's fully running, is 500 gallons.
yeah,
And like this quarantine is actually kind of a hybrid. This first 180 here can
Yeah.
actually be taken off system and ran on its own
okay.
as an initial incoming system.
Oh, I see, I see.
And then the other 3 tanks with the sump can run on their own. And when we do certain things, then it goes into a full 500-gallon system. Even mitigating 200 gallons is expensive. People have 10 and 20-gallon quarantines at home. So, you know, once we start getting into using antibiotics and stuff like that, it gets quite pricey.
Yes.
So, you know, some of my fish might be above some other stores. A lot of my fish are actually the same or lower priced than some other stores. But at the end of the day, as long as we're making some money on the fish, it brings people in.
Yeah.
That's all I really care about.
Well, this like the fish here look really healthy, and your display clearly shows. But what about the filtration? Is this all connected?
So the sump you see on the left,
Yeah.
that's the fish system.
For the one that we
Yeah,
saw
so the main
earlier.
fish wall.
So, yeah.
So this is a pretty bare bones system. A ton of media, a nice big skimmer, which we're going to replace.
That's a
soon.
lot of media.
Yeah, there's literally no room for anything. Like my
Wow.
my media reactor sits on top of the media.
Yeah.
There's a nice big UV up on the top of the wall there.
Yep.
And that's it. There's nothing special going on here.
Okay.
There's no copper in the water. There's full salinity,
Mhm.
and it works very well for us. The quarantine system is even more bare bones. There's just a nice big skimmer.
Lots
and
of media.
Even more media, and that's it. We run carbon occasionally
Yes.
when we need to remove certain meds. Like when the fish originally come in, the first day or two, they're going through methylene and blue. That's
Mhm.
going to help with ammonia burn. It's antifungal, antibacterial. It could also reverse cyanide poisoning. So we do a therapeutic dose in the system. The water is so blue you can't even see in it.
Yeah.
We have to remove that before we start copper dosing because we can't test the copper with methylene blue in the water. So we run the carbon reactor for a few days to remove everything.
Yeah.
And once the water's clear, we start the copper, we start the formaldehyde treatment, we start the fenbendazole internal treatment, and we go from there. Typically, we're covering a lot of things with this quarantine, and now that I'm spreading it in a system treatment for 7 to 10 days, the fish are way more settled in before they get put out for sale.
Well, I have certainly gotten fish from you in the past, and with some great success. So that whitetail bristlenose is still one of my favorite fish.
Still kicking, huh?
It was the most expensive fish I ever paid the money for, but it's lovely and definitely one of my absolute favorites. And this is the oxygenation coming back.
Yeah, so we have a big pond air pump here.
Yeah.
I have an individual
Oh,
air
wow.
stone for each tank.
Yep.
And then they're not on right now, but there's 2 huge air stones in this kind of, I made like an all-in-one tank here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this main chamber with media for this tank heaters, and
That's
then there's
amazing.
some big air pumps, air stones in there. So if I turn those on, it starts bubbling in there, and there's a wave maker pushing water. You can see if you come over here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's what's creating flow in here.
Yeah.
So we don't want to overdo it with the oxygen because you can actually start to affect the fish. They can get oxygen in their blood,
yes.
like actual air bubbles.
Yeah, you don't
So-
want to do that.
I would only run it like this initially when they come in for maybe 30 minutes to really put more oxygen in the water. And then right as we add the formaldehyde, we crank everything for about 30 minutes just to really fill the water with oxygen. And then I
Nice.
just turn those guys off so that the fish can have a little bit of a breather. No pun intended.
That's pretty cool. And you said LRS is kind of what you feed your
it's the
fish
main
and
food.
quarantine?
It's
wow.
super rich in
Oh, for sure.
nutrition. We actually
Oils, everything, right?
everything. We actually
Yeah.
thought, because
Mhm.
it's just a pain for me every time to thaw to put the vitamins in. We get like 10, 20 sheets. We thaw
Yeah.
it all at once. We mix in seaweed. We mix in all the vitamins of my choice. And then I
Nice.
just freeze it in essentially bricks. And
That's
makes things
incredible.
quicker. If I need to ask Alina, I'll go cut some food, thaw it out. Like she doesn't have to ask, what do I put in it? It's already done. And then we do, you know, your brine shrimp for fish that are new because it's easier for them to start eating.
Yep.
Our medicated food goes into brine shrimp because the fish are more enticed to eat it. We do mysis for certain fish like some anthias that are being picky, or cardinals, or copper bands.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to mix in flakes. I try to mix in pellets. That this way, if people ask, the fish are likely to eat them already. But I care about the fish. I want them to be fat and healthy. I want them to do better the longer they stay. A lot of stores, when they get fish,
they
do
want it
worse,
out.
right? They want
Yeah,
them
so-
out because the fish do worse the longer they stay there.
Yes.
For me, I want the opposite. I want the fish to do better the longer they're here. And in order to do that, we have to treat them like it's a nice display tank.
That's cool. And to me, the longer the fish has been, the more expensive it can be, because you know you're guaranteed that you're not gonna get like a lot of diseases otherwise.
Of course, like people ask us all the time too, like, oh, should I still quarantine my fish? And the responsible thing to say is, yeah, absolutely, you should.
Yes.
I tell people what I do, just like I'm telling you guys now.
Yep.
This is what we put our fish through. I'm 99.9% sure no other retailer does things on this level.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that because it's just not really that profitable at the end of the day. But for me, I want the quality. I want to be able to provide the quality, and I want to, you know, push the boundaries, do things that haven't been done. And I know for sure this hasn't been done because everyone tells me, oh my God, I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. So many people don't even know I do this. And they're shocked when I show them this. They're like, oh, people always tell me about they have a quarantine in the back room, but they never get to see it. And I show people. I've got nothing to hide.
Now, I'm dealing with a copper band that doesn't, like, he was eating at the store, just a little bit of brine shrimp, but he wasn't like amazing. But then 2 days later, he at home in my quarantine system, he just stopped eating altogether. Any tips or
Did you medicate the system yet?
No, I did not.
So no medication, not eating. Honestly, there's not much you can do with copper bands. They're picky. If they're eating well in the store, they might not be eating well at home. If they're not eating at the store, they might be eating well at home.
Wow.
They're such a finicky fish. The really big one in the display that we got way back wasn't eating. And I tried all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one day he just started eating on his own.
Really? So
what I can recommend to you, try other things. Try mysis. Try a couple different brands of mysis. Try brine. Try spirulina brine.
Yep.
Try LRS. You know,
Yes.
LRS has mysis, krill, squid. It has bristleworms in it. It has clams, mussel. It's everything in it. So try maybe something like that. Worst case, like last resort, grab some mussels or open clams from a grocery store and put one in and see. But
I tried, but he didn't.
He has no interest.
He did not go for that. So
try a couple different foods you have access to. If you have any friends, I mean, I'd give you a piece of LRS if you want.
Oh,
or
that would be
something
great.
different that you don't have.
Why
see
don't
if
we?
he eats it.
Yeah.
And go from there. Like,
I'll try it
you know what I
tonight.
mean? Yeah, I'll give you a chunk of the food that like we made from LRS.
Yes.
And if he eats it, then you know you can get LRS, and he should eat it too. Like, it doesn't make any sense that he won't.
I will do that tonight. And since you've opened up the doors to your kind of back room, let's do a quick overview.
There's a lot going on back here right now.
So what's happening? Like, you've got...
This is our water storage. I have a 300-gallon container of Aquaphor sea salt, which gets used for the quarantine and fish system. I have 600 gallons of RODI water.
Oh my God.
Underneath a pile of boxes and ladders and stuff, there's 300 gallons of fauna marin salt, which we use for the coral system.
Yeah.
The RO unit's over here.
Yeah.
We moved it originally. So I used to have it where this cabinet is. So this is a 1,000-gallon-a-day modified RO unit. Yeah. Incoming carbon tower. Yeah. 3 sediments, 1,000-gallon-a-day membrane. And then this is our DI resin. It's a 20-kilo vessel of DI resin. It's not running now, but I can guarantee you, we'll show you one day when he comes when it's running. Yeah. The TDS coming out of my membrane is 1.
1, eh?
Coming out of the membrane is 1.
Yeah.
So 20 kilos of DI lasts me about a year. Makes 15,000 gallons of water. Behind this, we have...
there's something there?
Oh, yeah. So when we redid the quarantine, we redid all the electrical. So everything's running through through little channels. Yeah. And it's all in here. I also store my meds in here.
Oh, I love it.
Everything's uncontrollable.
I love it.
Power bars, all my meds are here. Any of the power supplies are in waterproof boxes. Yeah. Just to do things a little bit properly. And then I've got a little childproof lock here so someone can't just come and rip it open. We did the charting so we can keep things organized. Boxes everywhere, boxes in the sky, boxes above us for shipping.
What is that?
We'll talk to this in a second.
Okay.
We'll go over it. So we have the invert system, which is very bare bones. There's not much to it. The coral system got a whole kind of revamp recently. We're still not done. We just installed 2 massive pleated filters to help polish the water, also be a pre-filter to our UVs.
Yep.
We have the monster skim res everybody knows.
Yeah.
And then we put all the electrical in here, along with my individual elemental dosing that I do. We still have more to do in here. There's a lot going on. So we just want to keep things cleaner, more safe, just better overall. We used to all be over here. Like I still have things to tear out.
Yeah, no, this is like next level. I like how you've
this is the farm.
All right.
There's 4 tanks. It's a 150, 150. These are 120s.
Yep.
So it's a pretty fair sized farm. But we're gonna gut all the electrical here. You can't really see because I've got a bunch of sheets of stuff.
Yep.
There's another cabinet on that side, which we're gonna do the same thing we did for the quarantine.
Oh my.
Everything's gonna run in raceways to that cabinet. It's gonna be sealed off. All the electrical is gonna be a lot cleaner and safer. And we'll have a tank dedicated for torches as we do, a tank dedicated for acros. The one on the bottom left will be kind of contingency for a little bit of overfill for incoming stuff, some other nicer stuff we're growing.
I love it.
There's all kinds. It never ends. You know, I just think of something new and I just do it randomly. I did this 2 days ago just because I thought of it.
Okay, what is it? What is it?
This thing.
Yes.
This, I don't know. Packing peanuts. So when we pack orders, it's a lot easier to fill them this way. I used to have them in garbage bags in the old store and do it by hand, but it's way easier this way.
Yeah, because they make such a mess. Otherwise, like you cannot take it with the hand.
And if you get some water in there, they get stuck together. Like we use biodegradable ones, so water does not, well, they don't like water. They melt when water touches them.
All right.
But yeah, so we've got a lot going on. You guys will see lots of updates in the future, but now's the time for us to do all this stuff, now that it's slowing down. It's a winter hobby for us, so summer gets slower. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot.
I love this as well. This is
we've got our own paper. It's paper tape. We're trying to we're gonna change a lot of the things we do coming into the fall. Like all of our boxes are gonna be biodegradable foam. Anything that's not, because we try to reuse our shipping boxes to save some money and also reuse them instead of throwing them out. All of our packaging material is going to be virgin plastics, so they can be recycled, and all of our tape is paper. So we're trying to be as eco-friendly as we can. And yeah, I mean, we do what we can.
Dimo, thank you so much. I think I could easily stay here for another hour, but we're gonna call it a day or a night. And once again, thank you for showing us your backroom, showing us the fish process. This is very impressive. For anybody who's watching this far, make sure to check out reefparadise.ca. And if you are in the GTA area or even further, drop by, say hi to Dimo. And if you have any questions, just write in the comments below and we will cover it in the next video. Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.